Welcome to Retirement Ramblings. I'm Scott. On today's video, I'm going to talk about transitioning from the carnivore diet to a diet that's going to be optimized using a continuous glucose monitoring system, or CGM. If that sounds interesting to you, please stick around. It's been about 2 weeks since I posted the video on quitting the carnivore diet, and I want to thank the hundreds of you who have provided comments to me, about my decision and what you think about that decision, and fundamentally, you would like to see me continue to stay on carnivore, but basically, based on some of the results of the blood work and some concerns that I had there, I'm going to stay primarily, I'm going to stay animal-based, but not exclusively, what I'll call strict carnivore. I'm going to move towards a carnivore or an animal protein-based diet, but then leveraging a continuous glucose monitor, which I have installed here in my right arm, to monitor my glucose as I eat things, perform different activities, and just, basically optimize my eating schedule, specific to me and only me. So this isn't necessarily attributable to anyone else. It's just the way, my body, my mitochondria, like how I respond to different foods given, my history, my health conditions, etc. So it's not something that I'm suggesting that anyone else does. It's just something that for me, I'm going to use this as a means to try and optimize the blood markers that I'm concerned about, while not going backward on any of the progress that I previously made on carnivore. So one of the things actually that came up over the last 2 weeks while I've been watching, a variety of videos, I happened to watch something on Steak and Butter Gal's channel, so Bella's channel, and where she went over her labs, and that was fine. But really, I was going through the comments, and one of the things that I found was an individual had commented on how their iron levels were dramatically affected on blood work because they cooked in a cast iron pan. And quite honestly, it never even dawned on me. Like, I cook almost all of my steaks. I do a reverse sear method, cook them in the oven, and then finish them, for the last maybe 2.5 minutes per side, in a steaming hot cast iron skillet out on my grill. So it makes a really nice sear, creates pretty much a perfect medium rare, and so just the way I like the steaks. But I hadn't really contemplated the fact that the cast iron pan could be adding to my iron, in my blood work. So I'm gonna basically, stop using my cast iron for a period of time, and I'll use I used Blue Diamond as a ceramic cookware. So I'll finish the steaks in a Blue Diamond pan instead, and see then when I redo my blood work if the iron values dramatically change. Because as one of the items that I was concerned about was the total iron binding capacity number being high on my blood work. So anyway, I found that really interesting. The other thing, I was watching a video between Bella and Lily Kane, and they were talking about the changes that they've made over several years, from strict carnivore to more variety. So again, kind of was reinforcing, kind of the decision that I've made to try and go and do something that's optimized specifically for me by leveraging a continuous glucose monitor. So let me just talk a little bit about that. So I contacted Abbott, and they have a free trial offering for, you can get one Freestyle Libre 3 sensor, and the Freestyle Libre does continuous glucose monitoring, and it auto updates every minute, and it sends that to your phone. So you can monitor your blood glucose in the app. I'm still learning to use the app, but basically you can add notes, um, so that you can actually see what's happening. I started doing exercises at this point. I stopped doing exercise at this point. What did my blood glucose do in between? I ate such and such. What happened 1 hour after? What happened 2 hours after? And so you can actually see the impact of the different activities, and what you are eating, on your specific blood glucose. And then I've compared that against my actual finger prick meter, and it's very close. So like I'll show you a picture here in a second. But on the first day that I got it and did the insertion, at the time of insertion, it came back and gave me an initial reading at 113 milligrams per deciliter on the CGM, and then on my actual finger stick it was 111. So a trivial difference, certainly within the realm of what you would expect between a system that doesn't actually monitor directly your blood. It's monitoring the interstitial fluid that's in the back of your arm, that basically there's up to like a 10-minute delay between what's actually happening, let's say, in your blood at that moment, and what shows up on the meter. But from a trend line perspective, it's pretty well consistent. So anyway, I contacted Abbott. They said with a doctor prescription that they would in fact give me one sensor which lasts 14 days for me to try it out. And then so I got my doctor's approval. He sent in the prescription. I had it filled at a public supermarket, whatever, no big deal, at their pharmacy. Took a little bit of time to get through the paperwork or what have you. And then I got that, let's say, within a week. But then I started doing a bunch of research to figure out, how to insert it, how to make sure you don't get skin flare-ups because of the adhesive that's on it, et cetera, et cetera. And so in researching that, it came that I should kind of use I call it a skin defender. It's a I don't even know what it is. I call it a piece of fabric that goes between the sensor and your skin, that's made specifically for the size of the sensor you're using. I got a skin tack, which is a medical grade adhesive that you put over your skin as a protective barrier, and it also then makes the adhesive of the patch stick to your skin better. And then on top of that, I got skin grips, which are basically a cover, like a bandage that goes over the sensor, and attaches again to that adhesive that you put on your skin to create a stronger bond, so that when you're outside exercising or sweating or whatever, it doesn't come off prematurely, so that the sensor will in fact last a full 14 days, so that you don't waste money, and that you get your full readings, for each of the sensors. So anyway, down in the description below, I'm going to give you a list of all the items that I'm talking about, exactly with the model, part numbers, whatever. So if you're interested in checking them out, feel free. Also have a link to a PDF that Abbott provides that gives you a complete description of all the functions of the Freestyle Libre 3 and all the benefits that you can potentially get from it, and what isn't acceptable for the free trial program. And again, everything that I'm talking about, there's no in any way sponsorship or any kind of subsidies that I'm getting from anyone, other than the free trial that I got from Abbott for the sensor itself. But all the other products I'm talking about, I just went out and spent the money and bought them. And the supplies that I bought, which was the smallest amount I could, will last for months. So it was, again, from my perspective, well worth the investment. So one of the things I will share with you here in just a minute is some graphs. So the thing that what I like I said about the sensor, is that I can, again, track exactly what I'm doing, add some notes or whatever. So it will show you high and low blood sugar ratings. It'll have some notes at the bottom. So like the day that I inserted it, which was Thursday, June 27th, was the first day I actually inserted the Freestyle Libre. So you can see like the foods that I ate. Like I indicated, I had pork ribs that evening along with homemade spice rub. I had some white American cheese and Publix hard salami later, and then at the end of the night, I took magnesium glycinate and potassium citrate supplements, and those things are tagged, and then I can see what happened to my blood sugar, after each one of those events, to see if anything had a negative impact. Then the following day, Friday the 28th, it showed what's happening during my sleep patterns, like where does my blood glucose go, and quite honestly, I was pretty surprised that how it works through the night. It drops into the nine. Actually, my lowest point was down to a normal range 81 for my blood glucose. But then, since I'm a type 2 diabetic, I get the dawn effect, and so you can actually see on the graph where starting at around 2 to 3 in the morning, my blood sugar starts going up automatically all the way until I get out of bed. And then the thing that really surprised me was I go for a morning walk for an hour. I try to do that around 7:30 before it gets too hot, and also when the sun's kind of low on the horizon, so I can get the sun in my eyes and on my face and everything, but it's not blinding like it is, a little later. In any event, during the exercise and post the exercise, I was expecting, based on talking to my doctor, who's a certified diabetic practitioner, that exercise would actually make your blood sugar go down because, as it was explained to me, you're burning through the free floating glucose in your blood, and so it's going to naturally make it drop 20, 30 points while you're out exercising. Well, in fact, there's a set of hills that I do, and during those hills, when you're exerting yourself like in a fairly strenuous manner, or doing, I guess, what I'll call interval training, right? So at that time, my blood glucose does drop. But then, as soon as you flatten out and you're back on slight incline to pretty flat, and then post when you stop walking, my blood sugar continued to rise considerably, having not eaten anything, presumably from, burning off part of the fat stores that I have and releasing the glucose out of those fat stores, or potentially, some glucose stored in the liver. I don't know why, but that seems to be the case. And then I tracked throughout the day when I was doing other activities that were strenuous. So I had to go out and cut down a bunch of bushes and other things where it was hot, but then I was like spending several hours outside doing it. And again, same thing, blood sugar went up. And then when I actually ate, my blood sugar would go down when I was eating, any kind of animal products with fat. And so the fat and protein for sure made my blood sugar go down. And then I even tried a couple of strawberries just to see what was going to be happening. And what I noticed was, as long as I have the strawberries with something that was high fat, and again, I'm using a small number, like 4 strawberries. So I had 4 strawberries, and I also had some cream cheese, Philadelphia cream cheese, for the added fat. When I ate those 2 things together, made no difference on my blood sugar, which again, I was expecting because of the fructose that's in berries or in any fruits, to make it go up. But for me, it didn't. So again, I think that I'm going to get a number of surprises out of using the CGM. And I'm happy to share those and let you know what tweaks I've made along the way. But in any event, my plan is to, again, stay primarily animal-based. I'm not going to call it carnivore because it's not going to be strict. It's not going to just be beef, bacon, butter, and eggs, or, beef only like the Lion diet with just salt or whatever. I'm going to do, I'm going to stay primarily animal products. There will be other things that get added in. I will add back in some cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, things like that. I might have a salad, a small salad, but with like balsamic vinegar and olive oil. So I'm going to still try and stay primarily with animal fats, but I will use olive oil on occasion. I'm going to make my own ghee, things like that. So it will still be primarily, animal based, but it won't be strictly carnivore, and it won't be, I guess you could call part of it ketovore, maybe, but I'm not going to track my macros. And likewise, it, would probably meet the criteria from paleo, but I'm also not going to, be strict to that diet either. So it's just going to be, you know, uh, it's just going to be a diet that's weighted towards animal proteins, and then based on the various tests that I do and what the CGM indicates for me specifically, I'll either add or delete that function, that activity and or food from my diet. So if you're interested in following along, love to have you do that. If you have any questions or comments, again, like always, leave them in the comments down below. I appreciate, all of you following me up to this point. And, I hope that, you're learning something from me, because I'm for sure learning stuff from you. So until the next time, take care.